Hello and welcome to The Gavel. I'm Terry Ikumi. The House of Representatives Committee on Information on Thursday held a one-day public hearing on a bill to provide for the regulation and conduct of the practice of broadcasting in Nigeria. Now, participants at the hearing largely supported the bill, describing it as complementary to the National Broadcasting Act, in line with current realities, except, of course, the National Broadcasting Commission, which was of the opinion that the bill is irrelevant and conflicts with the NBC Act of 1992. Take a listen.
The House deliberated on
Here in room 034 of the House of Representatives is filled to capacity with broadcasters and media professionals, all before members of the House Committee on Information. The purpose of the hearing is to seek stakeholders' input on a bill which seeks to give legal backing to the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters, which was inaugurated in 2021. The presentations kick off with participants highlighting the importance of the bill, while emphasizing that it does not conflict with the National Broadcasting Commission Act.
Permit me to say at this juncture that the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters is not to regulate the broadcasting sector. The business of regulating and management of the spectrum and monitoring of the content is primarily the job of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, as assigned by it by law, or assigned to it by law. What the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters, that is SNB in short, stands for is basically a meeting point for the practitioners. Meeting point to discuss the profession, meeting point to view and review the current trends in broadcasting through annual conferences and forums and trainings as it is the practice in other professions.
However, for the National Broadcasting Commission, the bill is not relevant.
There cannot be two regulatory bodies governing or regulating one profession. Section 2, 1E, should read, regulating professional conduct of broadcasting practitioners, there shall be replacement of the phrase broadcasting professionals. There shall be, what we want this to be replaced with is broadcasting practitioners and any other similar phrase in the bill. There shall be deletion of controlling and regulating also. We don't want these two words to be in the bill because the responsibility of controlling and regulating is only given to the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC. The bill did not define broadcasting practitioner. NBC should define who a broadcaster should be, not any other body. The Commission is already empowered by NBC Act to establish a broadcast institute. Therefore, we submit this to your consideration and further action. The Commission is fully committed to its already assigned responsibility of sanitizing the industry by way of making it more professional, and therefore strongly submit this above observation for your consideration.
Dissemination of information.
Former Director General of the National Television Authority and Channels Television strongly disagree with the NBC, hinging their arguments on the need for proper management of information and accountability of the media in line with current realities.
I think it's important for us to appreciate the importance of the media in a nation. And if we don't appreciate it, we'll be continuing to do those things that were done during the colonial era, when people felt that the best way to manage the media is to strictly regulate it from operating. The world has left that behind, and we need to be careful. I'm happy that this bill is talking about empowering broadcasters to act professionally, unlike other committees that had been very eager to prohibit social media, to prohibit this and that, without reference to the fact that the media is constitutionally mandated to hold government accountable to the people. If the people that are to be held accountable are controlling those who are to hold them accountable, who will now hold people and create accountability in our system? So lawmaking in the modern era must completely discountenance the old system of obsolete laws. Many of the laws we inherited are obsolete. Those who gave them to us have changed them in their different jurisdictions.
Broadcasters are made to go through a cadre of civil service or some kind of contract that does not really make sense, to the extent that the fame that they have, the skills that they have, does not earn them even the income that they deserve as talented people. In this vein, here are a few things that Dr. Momo has suggested. He has suggested that the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters should be allowed to create standards for employment, contracts for employees, create income benchmark and brand protection for talent in the industry, and also to have a peer mechanism to review standards and create a source of feedback to learning institutions for development of curricula.
As lawmakers reconcile the submissions made, the Society of Nigerian Broadcasters believes that with the proliferation of broadcast outfits across the country, it is important to set a minimum qualification and ethical standard for broadcasters, broadcast journalists, or broadcast practitioners, not only to uphold the broadcast standard, but also for the good of the country.
A delegation from the House of Representatives visited some communities in Plateau State on a fact-finding mission following security breaches that led to loss of lives and property in the affected areas. Now, Chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee, Abubakar Fulata, expressed to Parliament concern regarding the killings and destruction of properties in some parts of the state, which informed the fact-finding mission, with a view to come up with recommendations to the House and transmit same to the federal government for appropriate action. Also, the House Ad Hoc Committee, which is investigating the daily consumption of fuel, has summoned the Minister of State for Petroleum, the CBN Governor, the GMD of the NNPC, and others for failing to honor an invitation. Our next report contains the details.
Members of the Ad Hoc Committee from the House of Representatives were in Plateau State on a fact-finding mission to communities that were attacked recently, leading to loss of lives and properties. The delegation visited Wase and Jos South local government areas where over 100 persons were killed in different attacks and farmlands destroyed by the attackers, while some others were kidnapped and huge sums were paid as ransom. There were interactive sessions with leaders and members of the affected communities as they present their concerns to the committee, especially on the security situation, which has affected the day-to-day activities, disrupting farming and other activities.
We have done quite a lot. The first was actually to mobilize the whole community through uniting them on a simple mission, that is to combat this menace. And we have effectively achieved that. The second thing is where the communities are affected, we've taken some immediate relief materials. We've also empowered our vigilante by getting pop action guns for them. We have a total of 80 so far. But because of the economic crunch, we could not go further.
It's very unfortunate that terrorists, bandits are having a field day here. They have stopped farmers from cultivating their lands. They are abducting people for ransom, and there are a lot of atrocities being committed. This is what we've observed here so far.
The delegation also paid a visit to the state government. The Deputy Governor, Professor Sonny Theoden, expresses concern over non-prosecution of those arrested or implicated in some of the attacks, in spite of various legislations passed by the government.
The state government has been doing its own bit. The Commissioner for Justice is here and is fully aware of the number of legislation laws that we have passed to see that peace is maintained and, perpetrators of these acts are brought to book. But the unfortunate thing is that there seems to be some impunity that, informs their activities. Because hardly do you hear of anybody being jailed, being, brought to book And I think this is an issue that needs to be taken seriously.
The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on the volume of fuel consumed daily in the country is summoning the GMD of the NNPC, Managing Director PPMC, the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, and Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, as well as the Minister of Finance and the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry. The summons was issued following their absence at the public hearing of the committee. The Deputy Majority Leader of the House, Peter Akpatason, who represented the Speaker of the House at the hearing, expressed disappointment that such critical stakeholders would choose to be absent, considering how important it is to ascertain the daily consumption to see if it corresponds with the subsidy payments. He's worried that their absence could be seen as an attempt to frustrate the investigation.
There was no single representative from the company that came to explain why the company cannot do it before submitting the letter. That is not fair. That is not fair. How much must CBN? They pay this money, Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Who else will believe? Who on earth will believe that the Ministry of Petroleum Resources will not be present here and will not send any message? Ministry of Finance. So we want to see this attempt by critical stakeholders to absent themselves from this investigative hearing as an attempt to frustrate the effort of the committee. And the Parliament, will not take it lightly.
The Senate Committee on Science and Technology is assuring members of the International Energy Charter, IEC, that the National Assembly is ready to facilitate the domestication of energy-related multilateral agreements to attract investors to the country. The committee chairperson, Senator Uche Ekwunife, is giving this assurance during a meeting with a delegation from the International Energy Charter led by the Secretary General, Guy Lenz. She says the Senate is at the final stage of concurrence with the House of Representatives on a bill to amend the Energy Commission of Nigeria to enable it become the focal point for new and renewable energy. Senator Ekwunife, however, wants Nigeria to be upgraded from its current observer status in the IEC to full membership.
There are still a lot of untapped potentials. Hydropower's entire exportable potential is projected to about 14.120 megawatts. But despite these potentials, Nigeria's pace is much lower than the global average, indicating the need for stronger international cooperation to optimize the electricity markets and drive massive investment. That is the reason why Nigeria is working very hard to partner with IEC to be a member, not just to be an observer. Then what is our interest as a country? Number one interest is that Nigeria, both Nigeria and our regional body, that is ECOWAS, fall under the observer status. Hence, there is urgent need to facilitate upgrading of Nigeria to full membership status, bearing its potential in energy resources. From what I have mentioned, the capacity, the potentials in Nigeria in terms of the megawatts we can generate and the barrels of oil we have.
The House Committee on Nigerian Content on Thursday issued a warning to companies that owe the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. Lawmakers say it is in contravention of the law. The committee is also furious that the companies have refused to honor its invitation and warns that if they fail to appear at an adjourned date, heads will roll.
This is going to be the last warning because we have it on record. We've done a thorough exercise. NCDMB has gotten forensic auditors that have audited these companies and come up with their findings on monies that are owed NCDMB. Matter of fact, some of these companies have collected these deductions from their subcontractors and have failed to remit same to NCDMB. We are going to reschedule this meeting to a future date. We'll communicate with these companies, and failure to appear before this committee and by extension before Parliament, we're going to evoke the wrath of the law. We are going to make sure that we use some of these companies as scapegoats. Some heads will roll so that it serves as a deterrent.
Welcome back to the gavel. The Senate President was at the Kuje Correctional Facility, which was attacked by ISWAP terrorists. There he expressed shock that the facility does not have functioning CCTV cameras.
Having gone around the facility itself, we are disappointed that this facility does not have CCTV, something that will record or at least give you a view of what is happening and sometimes record the events. Now, this is a medium security custodial center. How on earth in the FCT facility of this magnitude we don't have even CCTV? It means we can say that all other medium security custodial centers across the country do not have CCTV. So we have asked the CG, the Comptroller General, to ensure that the request for CCTV in all the maximum and medium custodial centers across the country are included in the 2023 budget, because this is essential, this is indispensable. Now, as this facility lacks the CCTV or a functional CCTV, there is no record of what happened, except narration and maybe thinking this is what might have happened and so on and so forth. But if we had CCTV, at least the records would have been there and some analysis would have been made.
Now, our final report is on the oversight function of the House of Representatives Committee on Customs to Customs Formations and the interaction between the majority leader of the House and his constituents.
The House of Representatives Committee on Customs and Excise Management embarked on a week-long tour of the Zone A Command of the Nigerian Customs Service. The tour is part of its oversight functions of customs formations across the country, to follow up on the approved budget of the service and to physically assess the performances on ground, as well as evaluate the trade facilitation method, whether it is in line with the federal government's national policy on ease of doing business to make the ports friendly to attract foreign investors. Committee members visited the zonal office, where members were briefed on its revenue targets.
Our main functions that we feed into the 3 hours of the CGC: raise revenue, reform, and restructure. And that part of the reforms is also this e-customs we're talking about, the end-to-end automation. We're trying to reduce person-to-person contact. We're trying to introduce area video surveillance. So when they're taking containers in transit to maybe Borno State, we do it manually. We have FOE officers escort these containers there. But with the use of automation, we just monitor them by in our offices. So if the container stops, we can see them, call the driver. Why are you stopping? What is the problem?
Lawmakers made some observations over the scanners and some other operational concerns.
The committee would like to witness the operation of these scanners to show Nigerians the progress made so far by Nigeria Customs Service to combat smuggling and concealment of arms and ammunition into this country, foiling insecurity everywhere, and to help in blocking revenue loss within the system.
The next stop was a Tinkan command. The absence of the controller was a worry for committee members, and like the Apapa command, the scanners were a major concern.
Recently, scanners were deployed at Ashaye and Roro scanning site of Tinkan Island Port Command to ease the process of physical examination and expedite the customs clearing process. However, the scanners are yet to be commissioned by the Minister of Finance.
What we heard from Abuja is that these scanners have been deployed and they are working. Then when we got to the Zone A, we heard that the scanners, the Apapa one is not working because the Ministry of Transport is trying to do the rail line, but the Tinkan one is working. Acting controller is telling us now that it has not started working.
The committee then moved to the PTML command, where it was satisfied with the revenue generation, but observed the terrible conditions of the road. At the Kirikiri Lighter Terminal Command, the committee frowned at the absence of the area controller and the landlocked area.
So far, so good. For the year 2022, we've been able to generate 20 billion 445,925,654 naira only. That is from January to May. If you still go through it, every month, the monthly target stands at 1,752,838,672 naira 17 kobo only. That is what is expected of us on monthly basis.
The lawmakers were also at the Western Marine Command and the Lagos Industrial Command, as well as the Federal Operations Unit Zone A, where a list of items seized were made available to the committee.
You see the warehouse, there's nowhere to, even the deceased have a trailer now, nowhere to put the rice. So, and that one can pull down the morale of the officers from performing, and you cannot blame the area. They need auspicious place, like 15 hectares of land, so that they have enough warehouses and enough places to keep all these items. Here is already it's already inside town, so we cannot continue to be here. They cannot continue to be here. So this is what we are going to do, and we are going to do it very fast.
At the Murtala Mohammed International Airport Cargo Command, the committee was informed of significant seizures made despite the challenge of lack of functional scanners.
This administration encourages exports. This it has done by putting friendly export procedures mechanism in place that guarantees speedy movement of legal export through this command. Like every endeavor in life, this command has some challenges, which include: 1, lack of adequate and functional scanning machines that could improve the level of examination and import and export goods. Lack of steady internet network from the service providers. This delays a lot of work, sometimes maybe for up to 12 hours in a day. Epileptic power supply and attendant high cost of power alternative, that is our generators.
The week-long tour of Customs Zone A Command in Lagos wrapped up at the headquarters of the Nigeria Customs Service, where members of the committee were received by the Comptroller General of the service.
Let me congratulate the Comptroller General of Customs, Management of Customs, officers, and men of the service on the recent passage of the Custom and Excise Management Act. You are aware that my bill, a bill to repeal Custom and Excise Management Act and reenact Nigerian Customs Service 2022 has passed in both chambers of the National Assembly, and the report I got on my return to Abuja on Saturday is that it will get to the President latest tomorrow, Tuesday, the 5th of July.
There's no way we can describe it or quantify it, but to thank you most profoundly for taking the interests of the nation at heart. Whatever you have done is to no individual in the Nigerian custom, but it was your duty to the great nation. We are here to do what the government says we should do. And none of us is doing it to satisfy himself or any individual, but to ensure that our great nation makes progress.
Meanwhile, the majority leader of the House, during an engagement with his constituents in Kano State, emphasized the need for educational development at the rural level.
We were advised by professionals in the education sector that a lot of our school teachers, the head teachers and the classrooms teachers, are lacking in capacity, especially in terms of modern teacher education. So we started with a specific sector, a special sector, the science, mathematics and basic technology sector. The intention is that we want to also have our schools in the rural areas, whether secondary or primary schools, we want to have them to the standard of the schools in Wuse in Abuja, to the standards you have in Victoria Island in Lagos.
Well, that's the gavel this week. Thanks for your time. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.